In 1961, DuPont buried a lab report proving their miracle chemical caused organ damage, and over the next 6 decades it contaminated the blood of 98% of Americans, every single one. The executive who signed off on hiding it retired with full honors. Not one criminal charge, not one. So why has no one ever told you this? DuPont was the company that made modern life possible. That's not marketing copy, it's what America believed, and DuPont spent decades making sure they believed it. Nylon, Kevlar, Freon, and the crown jewel, Teflon, the non-stick coating that appeared in every American kitchen by the 1960s. Their tagline was better things for better living through chemistry. Wholesome, optimistic, patriotic, DuPont was the future. The company that kept food from sticking to a pan, kept soldiers alive in combat, kept science on the side of the American family. Clean, useful, safe. They knew it wasn't safe in 1961. That year, DuPont's own toxicologist ran internal tests on PFOA, the chemical they used to manufacture Teflon, which they quietly called C8 inside the company. The results were unambiguous. Rats exposed to C8 showed enlarged livers, cellular damage. The early signatures of what we'd now recognize as carcinogenic exposure. The scientists filed their report, management read it, and then DuPont buried it. They didn't stop using C8. They expanded production. At their Washington Works plant in Parkersburg, West Virginia, DuPont was releasing C8 directly into the Ohio River and dumping it into unlined landfills just upstream from local water supplies. The people of Parkersburg, families, farmers, children, were drinking it, bathing in it. Nobody outside those walls had ever tested it, because the only people who had ever tested it worked for DuPont, and DuPont had already decided what those tests meant. Over the next 2 decades, DuPont ran more studies. The results kept getting worse. By the early 1980s, their own data showed C8 caused testicular cancer in animals. They documented elevated cancer rates among their own plant workers. A 1981 internal study flagged that C8 crossed the placental barrier, showing up in the blood of newborns born to female employees. They knew. They wrote it down. And then they did what companies do when the cost of a problem is smaller than the cost of fixing it. They kept going. The EPA had no idea this chemical existed. DuPont had never reported it. C8 wasn't a listed toxic substance. It wasn't regulated. And that was not an accident. But that's not even the part they really didn't want out. In 1998, a farmer named Wilbur Tennant walked into a Cincinnati law office with a box of videotapes. His cattle were dying. Hundreds of them. Tumors, open lesions, rotted teeth, organs that looked wrong in ways a layman couldn't name. All of them grazing downstream from DuPont's Parkersburg landfill. The attorney who took his case was Rob Bilott, a corporate defense lawyer who had spent his career protecting chemical companies. He started pulling DuPont's internal documents. What he found was 110,000 pages of proprietary research dating back to 1951. 50 years of data. 50 years of DuPont scientists documenting exactly what C8 was doing to human biology, and keeping every word of it away from regulators, from the public, from the families drinking the water downstream. By the time Bilott's class action lawsuit resolved, 70,000 people in the Mid-Ohio Valley had been drinking contaminated water for years. The independent science panel, funded by DuPont's own settlement money, returned a verdict linking C8 to 6 specific human diseases: kidney cancer, testicular cancer, thyroid disease, ulcerative colitis, high cholesterol, and pregnancy-induced hypertension. DuPont settled in 2017 for $671 million. They never admitted wrongdoing. Not one executive was indicted. Not one. The men who read those 1961 lab results and chose production anyway, who signed off on decades of C8 dumping into a river feeding drinking water to hundreds of thousands of people, they retired. They collected pensions. Some of them died celebrated. The reason is structural. C8 was never a listed toxic substance, so DuPont had no legal obligation to disclose it to the EPA. When Bilott first petitioned federal regulators in 2001, the agency moved so slowly that DuPont remained in full production for 7 more years while officials deliberated. The legal architecture that should have protected those families had a gap in it, a gap created by the fact that no one had to test a chemical before releasing it into the environment. DuPont had known about that gap for decades. They built their business inside it. DuPont phased out C8 in 2013. They replaced it with a near-identical compound called Genex, manufactured by their spin-off company Chemours. The EPA is still studying it. Long-term data doesn't exist yet. Sound familiar? PFAS chemicals the entire Class C8 belongs to are now detectable in the blood of 98% of Americans tested. They're in rainwater, in Arctic ice, in the umbilical cord blood of newborns. The 1961 report that DuPont sealed away is now a footnote in a story that never actually ended. The chemical has a different name now. The system that protected the company from ever answering for it, that part hasn't changed at all.